FBU members have been asking questions in relation to the 2015 scheme. Everybody wants to know what it means to them. What is clear is that we are the only organisation that's actually trying to give any clear information on this. This PowerPoint aims to give some clarity in certain areas. It shows some of the options available, and it also shows some of the pitfalls out there as well. It mainly deals with situations concerning members who will have a Part 1 and a Part 2 pension. Hopefully it will stop members opting out or not joining the 2015 scheme unless they've taken all the financial advice and considered all the factors out there. When presenting this, it's absolutely key that we outline that we're still trying to get improvements in several areas and that the FBU continues with its campaign. Even though this scheme is being imposed by government and will be managed by each fire authority, there's been a real lack of information. FBU members are still very confused about what it means to them, and a lot of them have complained that even at this point they're still unable to get answers to the questions. We've attempted to provide answers upon request, but it's clear that some employers are still shirking their responsibilities. This is causing a great deal of confusion, and if it remains so, it will result in a number of scheme members opting out or not joining the 2015 scheme, which we think could prove disastrous in the long run. This PowerPoint attempts to give a brief overview of some of the benefits and the options to FBU members. We need to be absolutely clear that the FBU fully supports occupational pension schemes, and our position is that unless a member has considered all the options, including taking independent financial advice, they should remain in the scheme. We have still got some key concerns about this scheme and we're continuing to try and improve it. We may still get some improvements, but we've got no guarantees. Either way, why would you rush to make a decision until you've got all the information to hand? There's no rush, you don't have to make a decision before April the 1st. That's just the date that the 2015 scheme is imposed. It's not a date for you to make any decision. A clear benefit of being a scheme member is that as well as you contributing, the employer contributes as well. For a firefighter earning £29,000, the employer contributes the following. In the 1992 FPS and the modified scheme, the employer will contribute 21.7%. In the NFPS, the employer will contribute 11.9%. The 2015 scheme, the employer will contribute 14.3%. So in simple terms, if you're not a member of the schemes, then the employer doesn't have to contribute. And in this way, your salary is reduced. You and your family are also provided for in case of ill health and injury if you're a member of a pension scheme. In the 2015 scheme, they mirror the ones in the NFPS. You can still access a tax-free lump sum at the end of your career. You must know, however, that it's not as generous as the ones in the 1992 Firefighters Pension Scheme. This is an issue that the FBU have raised because we still feel that their returns are too low. It is worth considering some of the rules of the 2015 scheme and how they may affect you. For example, the normal pension age for this scheme is 60, except in Northern Ireland where it's 55. This is the earliest that anybody can get an unreduced pension in normal circumstances. The deferred pension age is state pension age. This again is set to increase to 68 in stages over the coming years. The deferred pension age is the age an individual will receive their pension if they opt out or leave the 2015 scheme. There are ways that a deferred member can access their deferred pension earlier than state pension age, and we cover this later. This scheme is a career average scheme with in-service revaluation in line with average weekly earnings. There is some protection for members who join from a final salary scheme, and this is explained later. The scheme has also got a partial retirement option, which again is explained later. Members who remain in the 2015 scheme until they reach age 55 can access their pension at this age. This is covered in Regulation 61, which you can see on the screen. This is the earliest anyone can retire and access their pension in the 2015 scheme, except in cases of ill health. Please be aware that age 55, if a firefighter accesses their pension scheme, they will have their pension reduced by around 21.8%. Scotland and Wales, this will be around 9%, and in Northern Ireland, because there's a normal pension age of 55, a member can access it without any actuarial reduction. This slide shows the actuarial reductions at ages 55 to 59 in the 2015 scheme in England compared to the 2006 NFPS. In Scotland and Wales there's significantly less, like we've said before, around 9% at age 55, and there's no actuarial reductions in the Northern Ireland pension scheme because the normal pension age is 55. Please note, however, these are for active members who remain in service and in the pension scheme until they're 55. If you retire before that and you've got some deferred pension which you want to access at age 55, the actuarial reductions are significantly higher, and we'll cover that later on. If a firefighter opts out of the 2015 scheme for more than 5 years or leaves the job before age 55, they will automatically become a deferred member. This means that in normal circumstances, they can only access their pension at state pension age. However, if they do qualify for an ill health pension award, they can access it earlier. But the criteria to qualify for the ill health award is different to the definition for an active member. The bar is higher. The person must be permanently unfit to perform any work, and they must be permanently unfit to perform any work until state pension age. There is another way that a deferred member can access their deferred pension earlier than state pension age. This one involves accepting a larger actuarial reduction. Regulation 61.4 outlines that a deferred member aged 55 can access their pension, but it will reduce from state pension age rather than from normal pension age. This means that instead of it being reduced by 21.8% and 9% in Wales and Scotland, it will actually be reduced by around 47%. A lot of questions we're getting around actuarial reductions and how they work. It's impossible to give a cover-all for everyone because there's that many different variations. This example uses a firefighter with some 1992 FPS service. This firefighter has got no protection and therefore joins the 2015 scheme on the 1st of April 2015. In this example, firefighter X joins the job and joins the 1992 scheme at age 23. We'll have 20 years FPS, part 1, when they go into the new scheme. We'll accumulate 10 years 2015 scheme, the part 2, and we'll have no protection. This firefighter wants to retire at their expected age of 53, but also wants to look at all realistic options available. We believe that this firefighter has 3 real options to consider. Option 1 is where firefighter X does retire at the age of 53. The FPS, the 20 years, is unreduced. The 10 years 2015 part 2 is then deferred until state pension age. Subsequently, at age 55, using rule 61.4, firefighter X can access the deferred part, but with an actuarial reduction from state pension age. This actuarial reduction will be approximately 47%. Option 2 is where firefighter X decides to work 2 years longer and actually retires as an active member at age 55. Again, the FPS is unreduced, 20 years, but this option allows firefighter X to access part 2, which will be 12 years 2015 scheme using rule 61.2, and will instead have it reduced from normal pension age. Remember though that the commutation factor for the 1992 FPS will have gone down from 21 to 1 at age 53 to 20.3 to 1 at age 55. Option 3 is where firefighter X is able to work another 7 years until age 60 and will get both parts unreduced. Remember again that the commutation factor for the 1992 FPS will have gone down from 21 at age 53 to 18.2 at age 60. Members have also been asking how to work out what their pension could be worth. We can only estimate it because we're unaware of any future pay rises. However, to provide a quick guide, we can do this, and for this we do it in two parts. Part 1 is the 1992 FPS and Part 2 is the 2015 scheme. For Part 1, again, Firefighter X has 20 years in the FPS and goes into the 2015 scheme with a salary of £29,000. For this exercise, we assume that this is also the salary Firefighter X retires on. Because Firefighter X would have got double accrual for the last 10 years of their FPS pension if they'd been allowed to remain in the FPS, Firefighter X actually gets their accrual rate for the whole career protected and averaged. So instead of having 20 60ths, they will get 1.3 60ths per year. This is exactly the same as having 1/45th per year. If Firefighter X does get a salary increase before he or she actually retires, this 20 years will also be based on the actual final salary, not the £29,000 used here. This is explained in an example later. So, using the previous figures, Firefighter X will get a pension for Part 1, the FPS part, of £29,000 divided by the accrual rate, which is the 45ths, times the length of service, which is 20 years. This equates to an annual pension of £12,889. This is before any lump sum is commuted. To work out the Part 2, the same salary is used. We've assumed in this part that the firefighter will work until 55, so we'll have 12 years in the 2015 scheme. The pension is calculated again by dividing the salary by the accrual rate, which is 59.7 in England, and this gives a pot each year of £485.76. Because it's a career average, this pot is then revalued in line with average weekly earnings. But for this exercise, we have shown it just as £485.76. So at the end of the 12 years, all the 12 pots are added together to get a final pension amount. Because this firefighter is retiring at age 55, this pension pot is then reduced by 21.8% in England, and Firefighter X eventually ends up with a Part 2 pension of £4,558.37 pre any commutation. Remember, this does not take account of any revaluation which will affect the size of the pot per year. The total pension is simply adding Part 1 to Part 2. This will give an annual total pension of £17,447.37 with no commutation. Remember, Part 2 is just an estimate because we have not taken account any revaluation. Most firefighters commute some of their annual pension for a lump sum. The maximum permissible is 25%. This is only permissible if a firefighter in the FPS has completed 30 years pensionable service or is aged 55. Otherwise, it's limited to 2.25 times the annual pension. For this example, Firefighter X can commute the maximum. The Part 1 1992 lump sum is calculated in the following way. The pre-commutation annual pension of £12,889 is divided by 4 to get 25% and then is multiplied by 20.3, which is the factor applicable at age 55. This results in a pension lump sum of £65,411.68. The annual pension is then reduced by the 25%, so it results in an annual pension of £9,666.75. Please note, however, for this example, we have used the current commutation factors at age 55. The actual factor in the future may change, and this is the one which will be applied. The Part 2 lump sum is worked out in a similar manner. Divide the annual pension by 4, gives the 25%. and then multiply this by 12, which is the fixed factor at any age in the 2015 scheme. This gives a lump sum, part 2, of £13,675.08 and an annual pension of £3,418.78. To get the full lump sum, simply add part 1 and part 2 to get a combined lump sum and annual pension. One protection in the final proposed agreement is for members of the 1992 Firefighters Pension Scheme who would have been able to achieve double accrual but for being forced into the 2015 scheme. This protection will mean that they will have their double accrual averaged over their entire FPS service. To have benefited from double accrual, a member would have had to join the FPS before age 25. This is because to achieve full double accrual, a member must be able to achieve 30 years pensionable service before age 55. However, partial benefit of double accrual could also be received from members joining after age 25 but before age 35 for the same reason. Anybody who joined the FPS aged over 35 would not have benefited from double accrual, so no averaging will be applied. For a member who joined, for example, before age 20, the averaging that would be applied works out at 1.3360ths per year instead of 1/60th. 1.3360ths is exactly the same as 1/45th. This table shows the sliding scale for double accrual protection from 1.3360ths for those who joined below 25 to 1/60th for those who joined age 35 and above. The 2015 scheme, unlike any other firefighters pension scheme, has a partial retirement option. This is explained in Regulation 63, Part 1 to 6. What partial retirement means is that a member of the 2015 scheme who reaches age 55 can access their 2015 scheme benefits without having to physically retire. In the other firefighter pension schemes, a member can only access their pension benefits by physically retiring. However, if a member chooses this option and partially retires at age 55, the 2015 scheme benefits will be reduced in the same way as if they were an active member retiring and accessing their pension early at age 55, i.e. in England, the 2015 scheme benefits will be reduced by 21.8%. The figures for ages 55 to 59 are the same as in the slide 6. Partial retirement, how does it work? Well, in this example, a firefighter joins at age 20, has 35 years in the 2015 scheme when they reach age 55. Using a salary of £29,000, this is divided by the accrual rate, 59.7ths, and multiplied by the length of service, 35 years, gives a pension of £17,001.67. After actuarial reduction is applied, of 21.8% in England, this gives an annual pension of £13,295.31. This can be accessed immediately without retiring. In this example, Firefighter X continues to work for a further 2 years. Please note, this option only applies to 2015 scheme benefits. There is no partial retirement option for any benefits in the FPS and the NFPS where the person has got to physically retire. A further protection which has to be considered was touched on earlier. This is the link to final salary from any 1992 FPS and any 2006 NFPS. This means that the FPS Part 1 will be calculated using the actual final salary, which may be considerably more than the salary when the member actually went into the 2015 scheme. For this example, Firefighter X was on a salary of £29,000 when they transferred into the 2015 scheme, but actually retired later on a salary of £45,000. The value of the Part 1 pension is worked out in exactly the same way as it was in slides 11 and 12, only this time £45,000 is used as the final salary instead of £29,000. This shows that the link to final salary is beneficial, and this example is worth over £7,000 a year to the person who gets the link to final salary in this way before commutation. To finish off, it's important that firefighters recognise that although we're still campaigning for improvements in this scheme, opting out or not joining the 2015 scheme could be a very costly mistake in the long term. Hopefully we've showed you some options that are available. Hopefully we've showed you that there are some pitfalls if people do opt out. The FBU supports occupational pension schemes and remaining in them. We've got serious concerns about this pension scheme and we're still campaigning for improvements. We may not get these improvements, but once again it's worth stressing that you should consider all the factors and take independent financial advice before anybody opts out or makes a decision not to join the 2015 scheme. Please think carefully. Please do not make any rash decisions. A lot of these decisions cannot be reversed. From our point of view, the campaign still continues. Thank you for your support.